So this hiking boot has a bit of technology that looks like and works like the kind of thing you'd get on a bendy bus or one of those plastic flexi straws. Should people be adding this kind of technology to a pair of hiking boots? Let's find out. So this is called the Keen Ridge Flex. It uses something called Keen Bellows Flex technology, which is located on the front and on the back. I've been testing this out a fair bit over the past few weeks, not just here in the glorious Preseli Hills, but also on the rocky slopes of Cadair Idris in Snowdonia. Now I'm going to say straight up that I really like the design thinking with this Bellows Flex technology. The main point of it is to improve the lifespan of these boots, to make them last longer than they would if they just had leather or synthetics here. Now the second reason is that it creates less resistance with each step. It basically saves you energy over the course of those super long hikes. What I will say first of all is that straight out of the box I noticed that lack of resistance. You could really sense the flex here. Okay, on short hikes it's not going to really make a tangible difference, but on those massive days with big mileage or multi-day treks where marginal gains really do make a difference, I think this actually could really help. The one on the front is going to make the biggest difference in that regard, I think. The one on the back is less noticeable, but I think it does come into play on the downhills. Anyway, at 595 grams per boot and with a relaxed natural fit around the toes, I just generally think these boots are quite light and comfortable and aren't going to be as energy sapping as some models out there. So is this Bellows Flex thing actually going to make these boots last longer? I think it will. I'd say about 80% of the time when I wear out my boots, it happens right here. And with the Bellows Flex, that isn't going to be the case. As you can see, it takes the brunt of that fold, so you're not getting the creasing here. So, I've got a pair of Danners, I'll show a picture of them. You can see exactly where I've worn those out. The same thing's happening with my pair of Handbag Banks Gore-Tex. You can kind of see some creases starting to form there. I've been hiking in these for a good few weeks now. You can't really see any crease where I normally would on a boot. Keen actually say that they've tested out the Bellows Flex over 1 million steps and they didn't have any problems with it. So hopefully it should last a decent amount of time. I actually think this is a really good step towards being a more sustainable company by Keen. You see a lot of footwear brands that just aren't making their boots to last. It's almost like they're making them to fall apart really quickly. And with the introduction of the Bellows Flex, it's almost like, it's a demonstration by Keen that they are thinking about how they can make their boots last longer. So that to me is a really positive step. Fair play to Keen, they've completely eradicated PFCs from their entire collection. That means none of those nasty eco-hazardous chemicals are used here. They've also sourced all their leather from Leather Working Group approved tanneries, which means that their leather conforms to a bunch of strict environmental and ethical standards. So that's all good. Bellows aside, this boot isn't much different to some of the other boots we've seen from Keen over the last few years. In fact, I think it's closely modelled on the Targi, which has been one of their best sellers over the years. I think the fit is identical actually. You've got this wide toe box that lets your toes sit naturally and therefore comfortably. That makes these great for those days with big mileage. The lacing system's pretty simple and it works with this strap here to give you nice kind of torsional stability. You've also got a removable insole that's ergonomically shaped, particularly around the heel with that nice heel cup. And then you've got that thick padding around the ankle as well. The outsole has 5mm lugs and uses Keen's all-terrain rubber compound. This rubber is nice and soft, feels really sticky, so you do get a nice bit of grip on the hard stuff. It feels almost kind of like a climbing shoe in that regard, but then thanks to those 5mm lugs and they're multi-directional, that does give you a nice bit of grip on the slippery stuff as well. So if you're descending on a muddy slope, these will bite in quite well. It's definitely not the most aggressive outsole out there, but I have found it pretty reliable. I would say it would be nice to have a bit more of a heel breast or a heel break, so that's kind of like the ledge that separates the heel from the middle part of the boot. As you can see here, there's not that much of a kind of, what's the word for it, a gap. And when you've got that gap, you can really brake, like dig in on the downhills. Okay, I've been on this mountain waffling away for long enough now, so time to wrap things up. I'd say, long story short, I like what Keen are going for here. They've addressed quite a big problem with footwear wearing out around the toes, and to be honest, it looks like they've solved it. Again, it's one of those situations where I need a bit more time, a few more months to really assess the difference this Bellows Flex makes, but after a few weeks of testing and a hike up Cadair Idris, I have liked what I've seen. As I always say, if you've got any questions about these boots, fire away in the comments, I'd be happy to help. Hit that like and subscribe button if you could, that would be very handy. Thanks very much for watching, catch you next time.